Welcome to this Tek-Tie video. We'll be doing an overview of the Test Management for Hardware product. Test Management for Hardware is a solution that supports the unique needs of a hardware testing organization. This video is a broad review focusing on how the key participants in a hardware test effort are supported by Tek-Tie. As always, we start by logging into the system and selecting the licensed product. I've provided my username and my password, and I click Sign In. These are the major parts of the Tek-Tie family. I'm going to select Test Management for Hardware. At this screen, we see the major pieces that make up the solution: test plans, runs, test objectives, data sheets, samples, and the web form layout utility. For the purposes of this demonstration, we're going to look at the solution from 3 points of view: the product manager, the product engineer, and the test engineer. The product manager will have a test plan in mind. For instance, the goal might be to establish that the widget will last through 2 years of use. To create and monitor such a test plan, we're going to click on the Test Plan Management card. Nothing shows because we haven't selected a project. We're going to do that using this breadcrumb mechanism in the top. Note that projects are artifacts in the underlying PTC RVNS product that backs Tek-Tie, and we won't be covering how they are created in this video. Instead, I'll click, look at the list of projects, and select one. Now the list is populated with test plans that exist in that project, but let's create a brand new one. I'll use the Create Test Plan link to create one. A panel opens, and I'll provide some details. Give it a name, and a description. Now I have a test plan. I'm going to focus in on it by clicking that action icon that zooms in. I'm also going to push the test plan into progress because I'm ready to start it right away. A warning comes up saying that the test plan will start working, which is fine. You'll notice that the test plan has no runs, no test objectives, no data sheets, and no samples. That makes sense, of course, because we've only just created it. Next, we're going to pretend that we're the product engineer and start creating the actual tests. As the product engineer, I can see where the product manager has left off. The test plan is ready and in progress, but there's nothing there. No runs, test objectives, or data sheets. That's my job. To go to do the runs, I need to get to the Run Management page. Now, I can do that from navigating down from the topmost menu, but Tek-Tie has a rich set of internal links. Each of these numbers is actually a link. If I click on that 0, I'm taken to the Run Management page. You'll also notice that the breadcrumbs are already set up. There's the project, and there's the test plan. Because by clicking on the 0, I've established my intent of looking at the runs specific to that test plan, of which there aren't any. I'm going to go ahead and create a run by clicking that link. Let's give it a type and a description and a short, longer description. And there it is. Now I need to create test objectives. I'm going to repeat the process by simply clicking on the 0. I'm taken to the Test Objective Management page. The breadcrumbs are already set up, setting up my context. I'm creating test objectives within the Run Year 1. I'll click the Create Test Objective link and start filling in the details. One of the important details to provide at a test objective level is which lab you're using. Test objectives are associated with a lab because labs might have specializations. They may be regional, or they may have areas of expertise, such as an electrical lab or an environmental lab. I'll finish providing the details now that I've selected the lab. I have no special instructions for what to do with the sample, and I'll create my test objective. Now that the test objective exists, and it's been associated with the lab that I intend to execute the tests in, the basic equipment lab, I need to start actually allocating the tests. This is a complex topic, but we're going to go straight to the standard approach, which is top-down allocation. I'm going to do that using this action icon. After a moment, the allocation grid appears. Along the left-hand side is a list of tests. Along the top are going to be listed the samples that are going to be used to execute those tests. You can see there aren't any samples yet. We haven't created any. Let's go ahead and create one. I'll provide some details here, give it a name, and a part number. A short description, and the date at which it's going to arrive. In a few moments, the grid refreshes, and I have a widget with no tests allocated against it. This might be a good moment to start looking at these tests in a little more detail. Let's look at these two, the shaker test and the overheat test. I click on the shaker test, and I see what we call the data sheet. This is what the test engineer will be filling in when they execute that test. Let's look at the overheat test. It also has a data sheet, but it's very different from the shaker test because, of course, it's a different test. You can also access the library details of the test to can familiarize yourself with what the test does. As the product engineer, I'll ponder this for a moment and decide that I want to subject widget 1 to the shaker test. I'm going to allocate it by clicking on that 0. Now there's a customization sheet that allows me to make specific details available to the test engineer, but I'm just going to allow for the default version of this test. I click Create, hit OK, confirm, and now a number 1 appears in the shaker test box. I also need to do an overheat test. Now this is an interesting problem. Do I do it on the same widget, or do I do it on a different one? There could be reasons to do it with one widget, saves money. On the other hand, it could be that one test affects the outcome of the other test, so I'll need to use 2 different widgets. These are the sorts of considerations that would be happening. For the purposes of this demonstration, we're going to create a second widget. I'm going to go through the same dialog as before, provide some of the details, say that the unit has arrived today, and save it. Now I have a new widget to allocate tests against. I'm going to create an overheat test in the same manner as before. However, in this one, I'm going to provide a little extra instructions to the test engineer. I want the last overheat cycle to be performed a little bit longer than normally required by the standard. I'm going to provide that in the test customization notes and then create the datasheet. Now we have 2 widgets and 2 tests. I'm going to return to the listing. Everything is updated to show 2 datasheets and 2 samples. Satisfied that the test objective is ready, I'm going to change its state to available to make it available to the lab to start using. Now I'm going to switch gears again and pretend that I'm the test engineer. Now as the test engineer, I've logged into Tek-Tie and I go to Datasheet Management. As before, there's no context set, so I don't know what I'm supposed to do. But I am looking at widget number 2, which is sitting here, so I'm going to type widget in the search box. This is not the only way to navigate to datasheets, but this might be a very natural way to do it in the lab. And there's widget number 2. Go to its datasheets. And listed is the overheat test, which was assigned during the test objective planning stage. And now the engineer knows what they're supposed to test. Since I'm looking at the widget, I'm going to say that it's been delivered. And I'm going to go over to the action icons on the left and select the action icon for filling out the datasheet. Let's do a quick tour of what the datasheet looks like. You see a test customization area where the message from the product engineer has been delivered. Do the last overheat cycle for 45 minutes instead of 30. Well, maybe I want to review what the test is. I'm going to go to the Info Hub, which gives me a link to all the relevant items connected to this datasheet. In particular, I want to look at the test details. After subjecting the unit, to regulation 1, 2, 3, 30 minutes for 3 cycles. So the third cycle, 45 minutes instead of 30. Got it. Close that. I can provide descriptions, observations of what this unit looked like before the test, a verdict, the actual data that's being collected. And interesting here, I can also list what equipment I'm using. There's another video that goes into detail about equipment lists. I can also provide pictures of the unit under test, and we'll be doing that too. Let's record some data. The temperature setting and the recorded observations. These are the fields that this particular test requires me to fill in. No significant discoloration noted. Provide post observation or note. Last cycle was 45 minutes as requested. And it's a pass. And I took a picture of the item and I'm going to attach it. So click there. I'm just going to grab a picture off my drive. Close, close. And now I need to save this. Now saving a datasheet has numerous options. I can just save it without completing it. That would be useful for tests that run over a long period of time. So I can save data as I'm going along, come back after a few hours, record more data, and so on. I can save it to other data sheets that are running the same test. So if I'm running multiple items through the same test and collecting the same data, I don't have to fill out each data sheet individually. But for this one, I'm just taking the simple way and save this unique data sheet and close it. Click that. I get a confirmation that I want to actually complete the data sheet. I say yes. It returns me to the list, and I see that the data sheet is indeed completed. At this point, we've successfully gone from planning a test all the way to executing it and recording the data. But before we go, let's go revisit what the product manager has been up to. Let's go back to the home page and pretend we're the product manager again, the person who kicked all this off. From the home page, we're going to drop into test plan management. You'll notice that the breadcrumbs have retained their values. We don't have to keep redoing the navigation. As the manager, I also notice that runs and test objectives and data sheets have been created. Oh, excellent, the work is happening. I wonder how things are going. Instead of calling people and bugging them, I'm going to choose this action item for a status page. A window pops up and I select the status matrix. Now there can be other types of dashboards here. We have custom builds when required, but by default we'll provide the status matrix. The status matrix gives me a high-level view of the progress. I see that there's one run, there's 2 tests spread across 2 widgets, and I can even see the progress. One of the tests hasn't been executed yet, but the other one has been against widget number 2. If there were more runs, there would be more columns. Now, maybe my managers are very concerned about that discoloration problem and want more data about it. I could bother the test group to send me everything they have, but they're very busy and they don't need to be interrupted. However, the information is important. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click that green icon showing the pass so I can access the data sheets. There's the data sheet as a pass. That magnifying glass lets me look in detail. I'll click that. And there's the full data sheet as it was filled in the lab. I can see that the temperature setting, no significant discoloration. I can access the image that was taken and show that to whoever needs to see it. Tek-Tie isn't just a management tool to help you organize your tests. It's a communication tool. The information set up by the test plan, by the product managers, communicated all the way down to the test engineers, and the data collected by the test engineer is communicated all the way back up to the product manager. I want to also look at another thing. Let's go to test objective management. Now, one of the things that often happens is that when a test objective is done, there needs to be a report written. These can be very time consuming for the lab, especially if the data collection has been chaotic. But in Tek-Tie, we make this very simple. I'm going to go to the action icon list, and click on the status dashboard for the test objective. We haven't visited this page before. Basically, it's a straightforward list of the data sheets associated with specific test objective, showing their overall status. But what's of interest is a button at the top called Reports. When I click it, I get a list of reports I can generate. Again, by default, we have one, but there can be others. When I click it, I get this. A fully paginated, prepared, ready-to-print report. Logos, titles, headers, footers, and then, of course, the data itself. The test procedures that were executed, the data sheets. In the next data sheet, we're going to see the actual data that was collected. 30, no significant discoloration. Last cycle was 45. Scroll down, there's the image that was taken. Done in seconds. Ready to print, handed it off, and get back to work. I hope you enjoyed this quick review of the Tek-Tie test management for hardware product. We have other videos that go into deeper detail of specific sub-elements or to cover particular usage modes. We at TechMan appreciate your interest, and we hope you'll be in touch with questions. Thank you very much.